think I have the best job at Fortinet. Not the easiest job, Ken, the best job at Fortinet. And that is I get to talk about all our new technology. A quick poll here, hands up, anybody here from last year attend? Yes, yes. Now I did get some complaints last year about the name of this theater. As many people wrote to me and said, we've come to see the #1 cybersecurity company. Not the #2 or #3 or #4, the Chelsea Theatre. And she really have named it the Manchester City Theatre. Truth hurts. All right, so you may think it's the year of the horse. It's actually the year of the fabric, and you'll see going forward. Let's just cast our minds back a bit, maybe 15, 20 years. Remember when you only had like 6 channels on your TV? Well, still the same in the UK, I think, these days. Remember when you had 4 gears on your car? Remember when you used to be able to smoke on the plane? I didn't really get that seat next to the smoking seat because it really was the smoking seat still. But anyway, IT was very simple back then. You'd come to work, you plug your computer in, you had a firewall that had a trusted zone, untrusted zone, and nobody was allowed in the data center, not even the data. That has changed quite a bit over the last few years. Obviously, I think now 60% of devices in enterprises are connected with Wi-Fi, BYOD, software-defined networks, and that thing called the cloud ever expanding. So that attack surface that used to be pretty much controlled, well-defined, has expanded greatly. And in fact, it's going to continue to expand. Now with IoT devices, sometimes you don't even know what the devices are connecting to your network. They're opening up the broadband. Speeds are getting faster. Sometimes you can't even see the traffic. It's all encrypted, and cloud will continue to expand. And if you look at this diagram, really that very first diagram was focused on what Ken called Generation 1. Just look at the connectivity. As the applications become more rich, we had to look at the content. That's Generation 2. And now as we approach borderless networks, we really need a different approach to security through what we call the fabric. So we have less visibility, less control, and I refer to this as now the digital attack surface. It's very fluid, it's very dynamic, it's going to be moving a lot, things are going to be adding, applications are going to be spun up very quickly and taken down. It's a very dynamic digital attack surface going forward. And this is probably the #1 conversation I have with CISOs and CIOs in 2017. It'll still be the biggest issue. Now, what can you do? Well, what you could do is keep adding lots of security vendors, as many as you can. 50, 60. Now, obviously, that causes its own problem in that each one you add, you've got to train, there's a new security console, etc. It becomes more complex. But probably the biggest issue I've seen with customers over the last 18 months is they've tried very hard to build out what I call segmentation projects. So they've built one in the data center, east west. They built one in the cloud. They've built one in the WAN going forward. They built one in the access. But they're all different companies and different orchestrators and controllers that don't talk to each other. And that's a big problem if you're trying to build end-to-end dynamic segmentation from IoT into the cloud. And this is the reason that Fortinet is building the fabric. Because we believe the most important component initially is to build this end-to-end security fabric that's dynamic enough to look at different devices adding to the network. It's dynamic enough to change its policy as you add applications and spin up virtual machines. But just as importantly, it connects into those orchestration points to make sure it stays in line with your network as you build it out. Now, at the center, the additional capability from a security perspective is that most people today are building out a security framework. In the US, I think NIST is favored. I think in Europe, it's 27001. And we definitely believe this is a critical capability to build out your security framework to be as dynamic as possible. So the first and most important thing is to build out that visibility of that dynamic attack surface and make sure that your network operations center is well integrated inside there. Once you've done that, you then need to use known protections for known threats. These are usually signature-based still. Okay, it may seem old-fashioned, but you still need to provide that basic protection against that attack surface you've discovered. Increasingly, though, as we go forward, you'll see more detection capabilities. We already have virtual emulation, virtual machine, sandboxing, IOC, behavior, but you'll see more emphasis on things like machine learning going forward on the detection side. Once you've found something, then you need to make sure you respond as quickly as possible. The average threat takes about 60 seconds to infiltrate once it's inside an enterprise network. So you need to make sure it's automated. You need to make sure it's well integrated into the workflow of your security operations center. And then finally, as we move forward, because of that digital transformation, digital attack surface, you're going to need a continuous trust assessment of all devices, all applications, all users, and all virtual machines which are attached to your network. Not every week or every month, but every second continuously running against your network. One of our big announcements today is going to be FortiOS 6.0. As Ken said, we do a big release now each year. This is at least 200 features in it. As I say to a lot of customers, okay, we do invest a lot in our hardware, our security processors and ASICs, but most importantly for us is FortiOS, which will sit on embedded devices, it'll sit on our appliances, it'll sit in the cloud and your virtual data center. That is probably our biggest investment from a fabric component. Now, I could probably spend the next 6 hours going through all the features of FortiOS. It'd be interesting to see how many people would have left if I started presenting for 6 hours. But instead, I'm going to play a short video here. All right, that's what happens when you let the geeks in charge of PowerPoint. Now, all joking aside, that's very similar. All of that there displayed is very similar to what you can see today. In fact, if you go to the demo and the breakouts, the Tech Expo, you can see the fabric topology view. Very close to that. It's not PowerPoint. It's here today. 6.0 shows all of that inside the topology view, the integration. But most importantly, I think going forward, it's not just that broad coverage through ourselves and through our partners, not just that ability to call upon advanced detection services at any point inside that attack surface, but the automation is a critical component going forward. Automation into the SOC, into the NOC, automation and defense, it's absolutely one of the most critical components going forward. The other things I should note as well, sometimes people go, well, I've got to build this whole fabric out, I've got to replace all of this. You can start the fabric with one firewall. That can be your fabric. It can build out across the firewalls. It doesn't have to be everything on there. It can be built in stages. Now, as I said, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of great stuff inside 6.0. I'm going to highlight a few of these areas here. Probably the one that's most important, you saw from that video, is the integration into the other components, the security rating service. That service is being built out of best practices all our customers have submitted in the last 2 years. That's going to be a great service. Eventually, it's going to be able to be defined by segment, by industry. I've got the cloud connectors, got CASB, automation, SD-WAN. This is a very complex slide, and I think probably in the roadmap views, in the breakouts, maybe Darren tomorrow in his presentation will talk about this. I'm not going to go through it in detail. But what it talks about is our continued integration of our security technology on the left-hand side, vertically there, with our existing products on the horizontal axis on the top there. So if you looked at this chart maybe 2 years ago when we first announced the fabric in 2016, there'd probably be, most of those products had fundamental, rudimentary kind of telemetry attached, maybe FortiManager. But look how we've built this out. And as we add new functionality on the left-hand side, security rating is a new one for 6.0, which now provides the ratings of firewalls and access points. You'll see that expand across the entire fabric going forward. So the fabric is our core technology, and you'll see this table as we build it out provide more and more integration across the components. Now, one area that's definitely been hot in the last couple of years is SD-WAN. How many have implemented some SD-WAN technology in the last year? Surprising. Anyway, there's 3 types of vendors these days. There's the SD-WAN vendors who are very focused on the SD-WAN features. You forgot about security. There's the security vendors who have really, obviously they have security, but are really struggling to build out those best-of-breed SD-WAN features. And then most of our customers today, most of enterprises and service providers have been doing a combination of an SD-WAN vendor and a security vendor. It's our goal, and we think we've achieved that with 6.0, is to roll out a secure SD-WAN. Best-of-breed secure SD-WAN features, best-of-breed security, giving you the lowest TCO. And in fact, as you go forward, you'll see us talk less about packets and bits and bytes and interfaces, and more about the application. SD-WAN needs to be application aware. You need intelligent path controllers. With 5G coming, there's definitely going to be multiple broadband connections. And you've got to make sure you understand each one of those SaaS applications. So I'm going to play a short video here. This is a video of a customer that is going to be rolling out, or maybe rolled out already, some of our SD-WAN technology. It's Jonathan Merrill, who is the CIO of Alorica.
Alorica serves our customers, who trust their customers to us. We serve some of the largest customers in the Fortune 500 chain, as well as some of the largest private enterprises on the planet today. Our customers demand reliability, security, and flexibility. Alorica is implementing its next-gen network. We use Fortinet's equipment because it's bulletproof. Fortinet didn't only supply us with great security, massive reliability, but also gave us the flexibility to implement their solutions in our business, in helping us develop how to transition from a legacy network into a powerful SD-WAN. We have over 100 different call center sites all over the world, and they always have to be up. So when we have a center that's not performing or is in the middle of a hurricane or something else like that, we need to be able to real-time switch over to backup and secondary centers. And to do that, you need a next-generation network like Fortinet provides in the SD-WAN. SD-WAN allows us to talk to devices as reliably as we've been talking to people for years. Fortinet's network allows us to do that because the SD-WAN technology gives us a look at the entire network through a single pane. So we're not looking for individual failures, we're able to make decisions on a global basis. They've shown us many different ways that we can implement security throughout the entire framework, how we can implement failover throughout the entire network, and yet still have the speed and flexibility to onboard our customers as fast as we need. Every piece of data that runs through our global network is protected by the Fortinet security fabric. This not only tells us when something is going wrong, it also tells us what we need to prevent. When we have a problem at midnight, somebody's on the other end of that phone ready to help us help our customers. That's very important to Alarica because reliability and scalability and security are all in our DNA as we serve our customers.
So what do you think the most difficult application is to make sure at zero latency, utmost high availability? It's voice. Those were 100 call centers that we're protecting with our SD-WAN solution. Right, moving to cloud. Obviously, cloud's hot. We've been building out our private cloud for some time now with our partners like Cisco, ACI, VMware. On the service provider side, Nokia. Also for public cloud, we have 5 public cloud partners, AWS, Azure, Google, IBM, and Oracle. What we're building out inside 6.0 is connectors for each of these areas. The connectors allow us to abstract the cloud objects from our system to allow us to integrate more features and functions as quickly as possible. We've also added a CASB connection as well for all the SaaS vendors. And what you're going to see over the next few years, if we've done the initial integration, is then now build out more automation between these cloud systems, all managed through a single console. One of the more important areas going forward is CASB, Cloud Access Security Broker. And it's not so much the features. Obviously, you need to integrate into the different APIs of those SaaS vendors. But what's most important going forward is the integration to network security. Just like sandboxing maybe 5 years ago was initially a standalone service, now 65 to 70% of sandboxing is integrated into network security. The same is going to happen with CASB as well. Right now it's standalone, you've got different vendors, but the key of CASB is integrating that into your network security so you can see people on network, off network. You can call upon resources of your fabric and bring them in like AV scanning on files inside your various clouds. We're going to hear from a customer now, Dominic of ShipServe, who started to migrate a lot of their applications into the cloud.
We want to be sure that our customers understand just how seriously we take the security of their data. My name is Dominic Aslan. I'm the VP of IT Operations for ShipServe. ShipServe is the largest e-marine procurement platform serving the marine industry, and we do around $3.5 billion worth of trade a year. I've been using Fortinet personally for about 6 or 7 years now. And when I joined ShipServe, I looked at our estate and realized that we had a lot of challenges that I thought Fortinet would really be able to help us with. It's an all-in-one solution, so it means we have just one single box, one single vendor to work with. There's a common interface that means with our modestly sized team, we can very quickly train our staff up and they can get the best out of the platform. We're seeing an increased level of attack vectors at the moment, and the Fortinet platform is really helping us to protect against various different threats at the same time. Our cloud strategy allows us to remove on-premise servers and move to a much more flexible, elastic, virtualized environment. By using virtual appliances, we move from a CapEx model to an OpEx pay-as-you-go model. By moving to the cloud, we've obviously encountered some new security challenges. By using the Fortinet NGFW, that's really allowed us to mitigate those risks in the same way that we have done so on-premise. Fortinet's security fabric allows us to bring a whole load of different technologies into one place. It allows us to provide intrusion detection, intrusion prevention, antivirus, firewall services, all from one single interface. Our customers rely on us to ensure that their transactions are processed swiftly and accurately. And the Fortinet products really help us feel confident that we can do that. ShipServe has recently attained ISO 27001 certification, a world-renowned certificate that shows our clients and the world how seriously we take the security of our platform. And we really couldn't have done that without the help of the Fortinet products. Fortinet Security Fabric has really helped us take our security to the next level.
You see anybody walking around today in their vest or their waistcoat, you'll know they're from the UK. Let me move on, though, to detection. And so if you look at detection, the progress over the last 10 years, when we first started off, we had this is based on file and malware. We had this one-to-one relationship between a malware file and a signature to protect that. Because it became so many pieces of malware, millions, we started to go to one-to-many. And then because of zero-day and targeted attacks, we moved to behavioral analysis, virtual machine, emulation, etc. Well, now what we're moving to is something called machine learning, where we take literally billions and millions of samples of clean files and of malicious files. We take traits from each of those systems and then apply it to the different files. So I've got my simple example here. Imagine a system where you take files, you have about 2 billion nodes, traits of what could be a malicious file, about 3 billion plus nodes of what could be a malicious file, and then you determine an output. And it simply works like this. You input the file into the system, the malicious nodes track it and look at making sure it's malicious. You check to see if it's clean, then it goes into the clean. The same system, you may have something that's malicious, but then also detected malicious, and it goes through the system this way. And then you can do this very fast across millions of files, across billions of attributes of clean and bad. We've actually deployed this system already now back in systems, and we're getting excellent results. We do some spot checks to see if we're right, but this is proving very effective against new malware, zero-day malware, and you'll see this type of technology, as well as things like deception technology, integrated into the detection part of a fabric going forward. So let's move forward. Now, we did announce the 6000 series about 2 weeks ago, and I wanted to do something, and that is Zoom. You know, it's like working with kids and animals on stage. I'm going to do a live demo here, and we're going to zoom to the Tech Expo live to see if we can see an actual 6000 series sitting in the shelf there. Now, the chances of this working are pretty low, so don't get your expectations up. Here we go. How many people visited the Tech Expo last night? Yesterday. I highly recommend it. All our latest technology, including the 6000, is there. All our partners are showcasing there as well. So definitely at least spend 5 minutes in the Tech Expo. Try not to interfere with the robot that's running around there, taking pictures. But I give you the 6000. That's OK. It worked. Good. We can move on. That surprised me. So one of the things you've seen we talk about is encryption. So this is a stat from Google saying that about 90% now of their applications are encrypted. The other pie chart is from Gartner, saying their estimates right now is only 10% of traffic is inspected at the gateway. That's a giant hole. And there's a hole there because a lot of firewalls, next-gen firewalls, cannot cope with the processing power needed to inspect encrypted traffic. And it isn't going to get any easier. We're regularly now connecting firewalls in the data center at 40 gigs interfaces, 100 gig interfaces. We shall be rolling out our own AX technology on Wi-Fi, 10 gig Wi-Fi technology in the next 3 months. And depending on who you speak to, in the next year, 2 years, or 3 years, you'll start to see 5G connectivity on the cellular side. So it isn't going to slow down, and there isn't going to be less encryption, there's going to be more. And so what's really important when you look at next-gen firewalls going forward, and that will be the ability to do encrypted inspection. And so I know this chart that Ken stole from me earlier, provides the information, sorry, I stole Ken's slide, he just corrected me. Provides the throughput here, a very high throughput. What's most important about this chart is the SSL encryption speeds. We're now talking of SSL inspection close to the IPS throughput. And that's going to be absolutely essential when you go forward to make sure you can see the traffic at critical gateways into the internet, into the cloud, and into the infrastructure. The other thing Ken talked about was NSS Labs. And to be honest, I don't believe a word written on companies' data sheets, sometimes even our own. And that's because they're all aligned with what's the best possible combination of traffic to make me look good. And so I always recommend to customers, make sure you do your own testing. If you can't afford that or don't have time, make sure you look at some third-party certification. A lot of vendors don't even put SSL performance on their data sheets. The other thing to note recently, actually, with NSS Labs is they started to test IPv4 and IPv6 traffic. A very different result when you look in detail. Most companies internationally are moving to IPv6. The US will move there eventually. So make sure you do your research and homework. That's why we invest a lot in making sure all our systems are certified. Fabric Alliance, we started this about 2 years ago. We're announcing today 11 new partners as part of the Fabric Alliance. IBM, NEC, VMware, who's been there for a while as part of the NSX program, but now is officially part of our Fabric Ready. You may recognize these names like McAfee, ServiceNow, Hughes, Phantom on the orchestration side, Micro Focus, Backbox, SiteGlass, and CyberArk now join our other existing partners. So now we have 42 partners, and we continue to work with these partners because we understand also that all the Fabric's very all-encompassing. You have existing partners you need to integrate inside there. And so we built LPIs across cloud, SDN, endpoint, management, security, IoT, and identity to make sure if you have existing vendors or you have a vendor you prefer, they can connect into that fabric. Then finally, I wanted to talk about our vision. We announced this last year, our intent-based network security. And what is this? This is our long-term vision. It's not something you can pick out today and switch on. It's our long-term vision of what network security should look like. What does it mean? It means I can speak a business language to my network security systems. It can translate it into the policies, the ports, the interfaces needed across my end-to-end segment fabric system. Here's an example. We're introducing in the 6.0 release for the first time business-aware tagging capability. I've got a firewall, I've got unsecure mobile devices, I've got secure laptops, I've got IP, I've got internal data, and I've got data that I don't really care about or information. What I can do is once I tag, and this is using a coloring system, once I tag those ports, those interfaces, those devices, then I can set up a simple policy across my whole network. I can say that under no circumstances should unsecure mobile devices ever be attached to my intellectual property. Very simple instruction that then is carried out across the whole network, across all the policies, whether you've got one firewall or you've got 1,000 firewalls outside there. This is our first step towards our intent-based network security, and we'll continue to build out the vision as we go forward. We are announcing 3 things today: FortiOS 6.0, artificial intelligence, and additional partners to our fabric. So take this information, go to the Tech Expo, go to the breakouts, and make sure you share this information you've gathered from Vegas here with your colleagues at work. Thank you.